welcome to Twickenham Stadium, a huge day for England rugby building out to France, and this is the place on the England Rugby live stream where you can hear from Steve Borthwick live in a press conference. That's coming up in about 10 or 15 minutes, half past live, Steve and his assistant coaches. Then around midday we'll be hearing from Owen Farrell and selected players. That's all taking place in the media briefing room here at Twickenham Stadium. Don't forget, if you have missed the announcement at 10 a.m. this morning, follow all of England Rugby's live channels to get all the behind the scenes build up here at Twickenham and also some of the action from the England Rugby camps. Delighted to say to be joined on this England Rugby Live by one of those 33 players that's been selected, Freddie Steward. Come and join me, please. Right. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much.
How did you get told the announcement? Who have you told so far?
We got a WhatsApp message yesterday morning with the time to meet Steve. We're obviously still in Cardiff, and it was actually quite with the hotel we're in overlooking Cardiff Bay. Went to see Steve and he let us know that I was going to a World Cup. So straight away, obviously, it's quite an emotional moment. Straight on the phone to mum and dad, and just really excited to get there.
What was their reaction like?
They were quite emotional, bless them. Obviously, they've been a massive part of my journey and making the sacrifices they've made. So to break that news to them was pretty special.
You've obviously broken into the England squad, England team over the past couple of years. You've been in this training camp, kind of all the hard work, the stuff that your mum and dad have put in, people that have put time in your coaching. Does it kind of feel a bit more real today that you are heading to a World Cup?
Yeah, I think I was saying earlier, today is like the first day where it really is sinking in, with everyone here and the squad being announced. It's sort of dawning on you that, we've got a World Cup around the corner, and it's so exciting. So exciting for my family, for me, for all these boys and what we've been building.
Can you give us an idea what you were doing 4 years ago whilst England were playing in Japan? What was your kind of World Cup experience then?
So I was at uni at that time, so I was actually we just trained in the morning with the uni squad, and I was actually in the team room watching the game with a load of the uni boys there. So very different experience this World Cup.
France obviously very close. There's going to be a lot of England fans travelling out there. Kind of how much are you looking forward to some of the atmosphere that you experience here on a match day at Twickenham, maybe being out there in France and the fans getting behind you?
Yeah, that's the beauty of it being in France, I suppose. We're obviously not too far away, and we've got an amazing fan base here, and I'm sure the nation will get behind us, which all us lads are really excited about. But can't wait to see the sea of white and red in France.
There's been a lot of players who've kind of come through over the past couple of years and broken through. Some of your Leicester teammates as well. I know going to World Cup will feel special, but being with some of your mates, some people that you've come through academies with, come through England age grade with, does that kind of feel a bit more that you've got some mates on that plane to France?
Yeah, I suppose it makes it extra special. Guys like Jack, George, who I've played with through the academy at Leicester and for many years now, to be on the plane to a World Cup with those boys by my side is really cool. It was quite an emotional moment for us yesterday when we got together, found out that we'd all been picked in the squad, and just sunk in really and had a nice moment together.
And then in terms of actually kind of getting out to France now and preparations over the next few weeks, Steve's spoken a lot about cohesion in the squad and kind of building that. What's kind of been going on behind the scenes? We've seen some of the This Rose clips kind of out on social media, but kind of can you give us maybe some of the ideas that have bonded you as a squad?
Yeah, obviously, you bond on the training pitch, but it's also so important. We spend a lot of time together off pitch. We had a good cricket social the other week where we went down and played some cricket all together, which was good fun. And we play a lot of just the simple stuff like cards. We've had a few team socials together, and stuff like that's so important. The closer you are off the field, it certainly has an impact on the field. So that's been a big focus for us going to this World Cup.
Freddie, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations again, heading to the first World Cup, one of the 33 players. We'll be hearing from Steve Borthwick in the next 5 minutes or so. That press conference coming up at 1:30 live from the media briefing room, as well as his assistant coaches. Let's, though, get a roundup, if you have missed it, of the 33 players who will be heading to France in England's Rugby World Cup squad. England's 33-man squad there that will be heading to France for the Rugby World Cup. Steve Borthwick has made his decision and named the players that will be going to France, and hopefully England could go one better, of course, than they did 4 years ago when they finished as runners-up out in Japan. Remind you here on this England Rugby Live, we're building up to 2 press conferences today. Steve Borthwick and his assistant coaches, that's coming up at 11:30. Then around midday, Owen Farrell, the captain of the squad, will be speaking with some select players, and we'll be at the media briefing room here at Twickenham, the home of England Rugby, of course, bringing those press conferences live. Now, behind the scenes here at Twickenham today, we were hoping to bring you the squad photo shoot, which did take place behind us. It was scheduled for 11 o'clock, but the tight running ship that is England Rugby means that it actually got done and dusted way before we started going live. You can actually look at some of that on the England Rugby social channels, but here are some of the players doing the media interviews here at Twickenham Stadium. Lots of media access today, trying to get the word out there about England's squad selection, building up, of course, over the next month through the Rugby World Cup in France, and those different media outlets you'll be able to hear and see different players on. England Rugby, of course, as well. Lots going on behind the scenes here at Twickenham, and you can follow all of England Rugby on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Threads. We're in many different places where you can follow us. Let's continue the behind the scenes theme though here on this England Rugby Live. This rows, of course, episodes going out weekly, looking at some of the behind the scenes things in camp. And let's give you a sneak peek at some of the bonding things going on at Penny Hill Park. Stadium, some of the action there in camp, a session of dodgeball, lots of smiles around, lots of smiles here as well pitch side at Twickenham. Some of the England players that have been selected in the 33-man Rugby World Cup squad. Here doing a few media interviews. We're hoping to speak to Jack Walker in just a second, having heard from Freddie Steward, and we're just a few minutes away as well, first time live hearing from Steve Borthwick since he's announced his Rugby World Cup squad. Of course, the full episode of that behind the scenes series, this row is available on England Rugby's YouTube. 6 episodes so far, a lot to delve in there. Some of the player stories, some of the things going on in camp. Vincent Kompany coming in and visiting camp as well. They've been doing lots of different activities to try and keep the guys interested in what is, of course, a couple of months build up to the Rugby World Cup. Let's get a bit more action from inside camp and mic'd up one of the players. This is the latest episode of this Rose, Maro Itoje at England Rugby World Cup camp training, and this is what goes on at Penny Hill Park.
Great work, Benji! Great work! Good work, Benny boy. Get ready! Go, open. Stay. Press! Turn him in. Press! Hey, play! Hit! Get it off, yeah! Get him away, forward! Hey! One. Good! Leave it! Shoulder! Go! Inside. Yes, boy! Excited to join along? Watch it. Oh, great take. Thank you very much. Stay big, boys. Stay big, boys. I'm on DC. What I'm talking about. Lenny, I like what you're working with.
Yes, man.
Hey, they call that in the business money in the bank.
Yes, Chief.
Yeah. That's the start of it, eh? Yeah. That's the start of it. Big step forward again today. Well done, boys.
Maro Itoje there, mic'd up inside the England camp on the latest episode of This Rose. Again, head to England Rugby's YouTube, where hopefully you're watching this, as well as on England Rugby's Facebook and Twitter. And you can watch the full episode and catch up on the latest series of This Road. So if you're just joining us, very good morning from the home of England Rugby. The sun just about coming out again on the day Steve Borthwick announced his 33-player Rugby World Cup squad will be at the media briefing room in just a second. Steve and his assistant coaches will be speaking live for the very first time since making their selection for France. This is, of course, the Rugby World Cup and the Women's Football World Cup in New Zealand. If you're into all your sport, the Lionesses have just beaten Nigeria on penalties. They'll progress in that tournament in New Zealand and Australia. But back to the oval ball game here at Twickenham Stadium. We're looking actually a couple of some of the media interviews that are taking place at Twickenham. A really big day for both rugby writers, rugby broadcasters, rugby journalists in general, as well as content makers, as getting different interviews, different behind the scenes stuff. And we'll be looking to speak to one or two more players during this England Rugby Live as well. Heard from Steward, of course. I'll be hearing from more players, Owen Farrell, and a selected bunch coming up. That's at around midday if you want to set your timers. Interviews taking place on the famous green seats at Twickenham Stadium. And we do have another player who's just joined me, Jack
Hello,
Walker.
good to see you.
How are you?
Very well, yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for joining us on England Rugby Live. First of all,
worries.
congratulations,
Very
selection
much.
for the World Cup. We heard from Steward how he found out, was one-on-one meetings yesterday with Steve.
Yeah.
I'm assuming yours was very much the same. Once you did get told, who did you first tell and their reaction?
It's actually slightly different. I was with my partner. She gave birth on Saturday morning to.
Congratulations, a very good weekend for you.
A little girl, so it's all been going on, yeah. So she was probably the first person I told, and then obviously family and things like that. And no, it's been an amazing couple of days.
How was the reaction from them? What was it like?
Yeah, obviously everyone's super excited. Something you're nervous for a long time. We've been in camp for a while now, and today it's a day you think about over and over again. So when it actually happens, it's pretty special.
In terms of 4 years ago, what you were doing when England were in Japan, what was your World Cup experience like then?
I couldn't tell you, to be honest. I definitely wasn't thinking of being here in 4 years' time. So like I said, it's amazing and very grateful to be here. And hopefully go on that plane.
France is very close, of course, to England. Everyone should know that. But the amount of support I think they're expected is fantastic support here at Twickenham. But just over the English Channel, there'll be so many fans behind you. How much are you looking to getting a taste of that first English World Cup atmosphere?
Yeah, it'll be amazing, won't it? Like you say, every time you play here, it's packed out. The fans are incredible. So to go over there, if we can make it feel almost like a home game, that'd be amazing. The support's been outstanding this morning and for the last few weeks. So, like I said, to get over there with the support, with it being so close, it'll be really special.
With the World Cup squad photos today, the announcement of this morning, does it become to feel more real for you now that you are going to be going to France in a few weeks' time and playing in your first World Cup?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few nerves that kick in. You get the shakes a little bit as you put the kit on. So to come out here with the lads this morning, get that photo, actually realise it's happening. It's been a pretty long journey, obviously, with what's happened the last few days with my partner as well. So it's unbelievably exciting. I can't wait to rip in now.
There's going to be that squad photo available on England Rugby channels. There's a fantastic selfie, I think, coming with Owen Farrell that will be available shortly. Just in terms of, I guess, your career as a whole, Jack, and the long shifts, the sort of the late nights, all the kind of extra gym work, all the little bits you've had to done, coaches, players, family that put into your career. A moment like this, is it for them as much as for you in terms of what you've done so far?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's for them more so. Like I say, I started playing rugby at 6 years old at my local club, North Ribblesdale. So to go from there, then go through Leeds, Bath, Harlequins, and now be here, it's for everyone who's put in those hours, helped me everyone says it, but you definitely can't get here on your own. So friends, family, everyone who's taking you around the country, around the world, it's nice and special for them as well.
Jack, thank you very much for your time.
Cheers,
Congratulations for being on the plane. We're going to head live though now to the press conference, the media briefing room, the England assistant coaches and head coach Steve Borthwick.
On the day, I'm delighted to be announcing the England squad for the Rugby World Cup 2023. As I'm sure you'll all appreciate, selecting just 33 players from the breadth of great players we've had in our training camps has been quite a challenging task. We believe this 33 has the right blend of experience and young, exciting talent, and also has the positional flexibility and playing combinations that we'll require throughout the tournament. The coaching team and I welcome your questions, and we look forward to sharing our thoughts with you.
Steve, one of the biggest names to miss out is Henry Slade. A lot of focus on that decision. How difficult was it for you? How did you come to the decision, and how did he react?
So, obviously, there's been a number of difficult decisions as you have to take the squad down to 33 players, and we have a lot of talented players to select from. So, by that nature is that quality players miss out on the 33. Henry's been excellent throughout the training camp. He's clearly disappointed, but the message to the players that have not been selected is that be ready to come into this squad. We know that there will be changes. The past World Cups show us that there's bumps and bruises, and there has to be some change within the players. I think the average is nearly 2 players a squad over the last number of tournaments. So what I've asked every player who's not been selected who's been in our training camps is be ready to go.
And on Henry, what did you say to him? What more could he have done, or what were the reasons why he's not in?
Yeah, well, clearly in each of the conversations I have with each of those players, I have a personal conversation, and I give them share my thoughts on the decision-making process. Now, there are good players competing for each of these positions, and as I said earlier, and I've said this many times, I've decided that we'll have 3 players in key positions in the front row, scrum half, fly half, for the obvious reasons. What that means is that in other areas of the team, you need to have positional flexibility. You need to make some compromises. That's always the balance you have to do in this selection process.
How did he take it? And does he still have a future with England?
I think the Henry, along with all the players that were not selected within the squad that I spoke to, are disappointed. Clearly, they all want to represent their country, they want to represent England, and they've all worked incredibly hard to be part of this squad. I'd also say that each one of them, I know, is going to be ready to go should that call come and we require them out in France.
And at number 8, Billy Vunipola is your only specialist number 8. I know that there are other players who can play in that position. He's not played since April. Is that a risk?
So Billy's been fantastic in this training camp. It's been an opportunity to work with him, watch him and see just how hard he has worked to come back from his injury. He looks in great shape. He looks as fit as I've ever seen him, and I think his experience will add to this squad.
You haven't picked him in a team to this day. What's changed? Is it the fitness, or has there been a change in attitude? Can you put your finger on it?
Well, I think there's a number of things, and one of them, as I've alluded to, has been the opportunity to work with the players over a period of time now, and an opportunity to understand more about what the squad needs. I think then clearly looking at the squad in its entirety, what do we need in terms of, as I've discussed, the level of experience we need in some key positions, the type of player we need, what does the squad need, where's the balance of the squad. All those factors come into the decision-making process.
And how do you rate your chances at this World Cup?
Well, I think that this group of players, if you look at it now, they've got, we average over 40 caps, we've got an average age of 26. We've got, I think there's 14, in this squad there's 14 of the 23 from the Rugby World Cup final in 2019. So we've got a group of players that are experienced, a group of players that understand. Some players have played, this will be their 4th World Cup for some of them. They understand World Cup rugby. And that's exciting because that's blended with players that have, this will be their first tournament and are bringing that incredible talent that they bring. So our job is to harness all their strengths, put them on the pitch, and set up in a way that will ensure we can put out top quality performances. And as for us, over the next 3 weeks, the next 3 games, we'll be building towards the tournament.
And for you, what constitutes success?
For us, as we look at it, and I see this every day with the players. I see them in their team room playing table tennis against each other. They're desperate to win in everything they do. And what I want to see is a group of players that is really work clear on what they want to do and how we're going to play, really fit and energised towards it, and then able to bring all their strengths onto the pitch. Because if you do that, you add their competitive spirit and competitive desire into it. They're desperate to win every encounter they go into. We'll take an approach as we build through these weeks, then we get to the tournament. We'll make sure that we focus only one game at a time through the tournament.
But winning the World Cup, that's the bar, that's the absolute success?
This group of players that we work with are some of the most competitive people I've ever met. They want to win everything. They want to win everything they go into. Now, what I'm going to do is, as I say, we will build through these weeks till we get to the start of the tournament. We play Argentina, September 9th, Argentina, our first game of the World Cup. That'll be our focus. We play Argentina, the next game will be our focus. That's what we will go through this tournament with.
Thanks, Steve. Kevin, from your point of view, what were the key attributes you were looking for as a defensive coach when helping pick this squad?
I think there are a number of them. We went through a very thorough process. Steve and I had the Six Nations and the experience of working throughout that period and learning a bit more about the players. And then certainly this last 8 weeks and through watching the Premiership and getting around and speaking to people and understanding players gave us a real insight. I'm not keen to share with you our defensive philosophy, but what we'll say is, we are, like most defences, you're heavily reliant on your back row and your centres to provide much of the energy and hit, and we feel we've got a really good balance there.
Hi Kevin, if I could just follow up that on defence for England, can you talk us through which players you're working with as the defensive leaders and what options you'll have at the World Cup?
We're working with all of them. I know that sounds pretty broad, but when you put a squad together like this, they all have to bring some leadership qualities. You understand Owen is captain, Courtney and Ellis have done a wonderful job as second in charge, if you like. But right across the board, we're looking for leaders right throughout. So I mentioned the back row and the centres a moment ago. They're the positions we'll particularly be reliant on, but as you guys have probably seen, there's a number of other players within that squad who will provide that aggression and energy to defend like we can.
Thank you. And Richard, Henry Arundel being in the squad, we've seen him as an impact player. How do you see his attack developing with how young he is? Are we going to see more of him on the field in this World Cup, or do you see him as that impact?
Well, that's Steve's decision now, who gets selected and how many minutes they get. But on Henry, obviously incredibly talented boy, and every time he touches the ball, one of them players that there's a gasp in the stadium. So really keen to work with him to hopefully help him as much as he can, but it's our job to get him the ball in as much space as possible, because what he's got you can't teach.
And Tom, if I could ask you about Theo Dan, obviously he must have really impressed come last weekend. Tell us a little bit about him and what you want to see of him at this World Cup.
So Theo's phenomenal. He's got a phenomenal amount of power and ability, and it's just our job to actually hone that and get that far in for the scrum.
Thank you.
Just wait for the mic. Yeah, thanks, Nick.
Hi, Steve. Obviously, Alex Tom Brent hasn't made the cut. Can you just talk us through why that is? He must have been pretty gutted, I suppose. That's only natural, isn't it? But he's been, a regular for you up to this point.
Yeah, and without meaning to repeat myself, there are always good players that are going to miss out on the squad. I think Alex has done really well. He's trained well, and I think he's a very, very good player. I think there's a lot of competition in that back row. And I think, as we alluded to, there's also flexibility within that back row around positions. You've got Lewis Ludham's ability to play in all three, 6, 7 and 8. Ben Earl's ability to play 7 and 8. Tom Curry, 7, 8 and 6. Last World Cup played 6. So you see there's a lot of flexibility there. And for me, it's about making the decisions in the right combinations. And that's ultimately that's what it's come down to.
And Courtney Laws is fit and available, and obviously one of your vice captains. What kind of impact are you hoping to have from him? Because we've all seen in the past what he's been able to do, especially when he's fit.
Yeah, Courtney's a world-class player. He's I think this is his 4th World Cup. A multiple British Lion, a player who, in any team he brings, he instills confidence in those around him with the way he plays and the intensity he brings in his play on the pitch. He's very relaxed and calm off the pitch, and then steps onto the pitch and brings incredible competitive intensity. And I'm certainly looking forward to seeing that in an England shirt again.
Just on Henry Slade, I mean, I appreciate what you're saying about numbers and having to take the requirements of covering all bases with 3 10s and everything. But in terms of the attacking approach, did it sort of partly also come down to the fact that in terms of what you're looking to do, you've got Joe there who can obviously add extra sort of pace and dynamism and also play on the wing. It just didn't quite fit in terms of what Henry provides, especially if we're thinking about 13.
Yeah, well, I think as you look at the squad, you see there's a number of players who can play 13, can play 12. Joe, as you alluded to, gives you that wing cover. You've got Elliot Daly can play 13, Ollie Lawrence play 13, Manu can play 13. Joe, we've got the ability of Owen to play 10, play 12. So we've got flexibility throughout the centres, which has been an important aspect. And I'll say again, there's good players, unfortunately, that you can't select. I would love to be more than 33 that I could pick. I can't. It's 33. So by the nature of being 33 and being limited to that, players will miss out.
And Kev Sasuke, how much are you looking forward to this? You know, personally, with the challenge for you, because it's I know that you talked about the reasons why you wanted to, you know, take on this role and everything that comes with it. This is the pinnacle, isn't it, for I suppose any coach?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely delighted to be involved. I think during my short time working with England, there've been some tough experiences, but some great ones as well, and a lot of learning that's taken place. And it was great to be in Test week last week. Probably wasn't what we desired in the end, but we look forward to now to what's to come. And certainly from when we get on that plane at the end of August and go to France, I know from the experience around me and speaking to players, what a great experience the World Cup is. So I'm looking forward to ripping in and giving it my best shot.
Steve, you mentioned the playing the next game in front of you. You've got 3 games ahead now before you get to France. What's your strategy going to be in terms of building momentum against giving the whole squad opportunities? Do you have a clear strategy for that?
Yeah, we have a very clear framework of what we're working towards from a training load point of view, from a tactical point of view, to ensure that when we get to September the 9th, we are ready, because that's what we're building towards. Also be clear is we want to win the test matches. And I think I've said that from day one. We want to win the test matches. So we have that. We're also to understand the need for adaptability. We also understand the need for adaptability to that framework. But yeah, we've got a very clear plan in mind.
And for you, Kevin, in terms of getting the defence stressed and test, what sort of challenges are you looking forward to from the teams that you'll be facing?
I actually feel we've tested our defence a fair bit over the last 8 weeks because of the competition for places and the way the squad have worked and how hard they've gone after training. We have had a fair few challenges. But yeah, really looking forward to coaching against some fantastic attacks, some different attacks tactically. We'll face some different teams down the track. But I think what's important for us, certainly this week, is to make sure we're ready to play on Saturday.
Hi Steve, now you've got your final squad. What can England fans expect from this World Cup squad in terms of style of play?
Yeah, so well I think that the selection now is an important step. I think and I was asked a number of times around selecting and why would you announce the squad on this day. I think now our focus is on very much it's on about us, this team, and getting better and improving, less about the selection. I know I noted last week that there was a lot of conversations, a lot of thoughts amongst the players preparing for a test match, but also about selection. So I'm really pleased that we've announced the squad on this date. I think it's been an important step for us. And now we build, and I think that we've got to continue. We've got 3 important test matches in front of us. Wales at Twickenham, Ireland in Dublin, and then Fiji back here at Twickenham, and each one of them is going to be a step forward in terms of how we play. We're still in a reasonably challenging training phase right now, and what we'll do is we'll start decreasing the training load as we get close to the tournament, to see the team sharpen up, and we'll see that evidence, very much that will become more evident in the way we attack.
And just lastly for me, obviously with Wales again this weekend, can we expect something closer to what might be a first choice team this weekend at Twickenham?
Well, I think there's going to be changes, and I said this after the game on Saturday, that we'd had our finalists had been in camp about 4.5 weeks, and I didn't feel that it was right to be using very many of those finalists. I think they've had one more week preparing, and so I think that many of them will become more available for selection now. But I'll get on the training field this afternoon, I'll have a good watch of the players and see where everybody is.
I can ask a question of Richard. What's the balance between building your attack and giving players license to do what they want versus maybe hiding part of what you're doing before the World Cup?
I said from the start I'd like players to go out and show the absolute best of themselves. Now they have to do that within what's best for the team. Now they've done that consistently in training, building a base up. I'm pretty confident come tournament time that we'll have the balance of what you've just suggested, exactly right, where players can go out and feel like they can put their absolute best attacking performance on the field, but we do what's exactly right to make sure we're winning the game.
We're from a Japanese TV. This is questions for Steve. Obviously, you worked for a Japanese squad before, but how are you looking at the current Japanese team, and who will be the key players from the Japanese team that you need to look out for?
I think the current Japanese team is a really dangerous team, and that's been shown, evidence in the last 2 World Cups. The team gets to the World Cup and has performed really well in the last 2 World Cups. I also saw on their recent tour in November of last year, their tour, how hard they pushed France, how in Japan pushed New Zealand so close. This is a really dangerous team and a really well coached team, and I think there's many players I could discuss with you. The one I always look to straight away is more than just a player, is Michael Leach, and what he brings from a leadership, from a figurehead point of view to that team. We know he's a great player. He's also, as I know firsthand, a very important person for them off the pitch.
Any more? Yeah, Charles.
Just a question for Tom, if that's okay. Scrum in the first half on Saturday seemed to go really well and then suffer a little bit in the second half. Are you sort of convinced and happy that what you saw in the first half, there's enough there to right those wrongs in the second, and that it won't sort of affect the preparation going forward?
Yeah, I think happy's a word I might not use. I think there's some really good bits in there that show we've worked on, and there's some stuff and we need to improve on. There's definitely stuff we can work on to move it forward.
Well,
Steve, England fans over the last couple of years have been pretty depressed with the results and what they've seen from the England team. Now you've got your squad. How confident are you that you can spring a few surprises? Not many people expect you to go that far in the World Cup. Do you think this is a team that is capable of more than England fans will think at the moment?
Well, I think as I spend time with these players on the training field, I spend time with them and discussing aspects of the game with them, the more I sense the excitement from them about what they can possibly do in France. I think this is an incredible tournament we're all looking forward to. And I know firsthand from when the team gets itself into the tournament as it did in 2007, and then focuses on each game as it comes and just tries to get better each week. And then I think if you do that and you do that diligently, then I think the team has the potential to achieve something that they'll be very proud of.
And then looking at the talent you've got and comparing it to the other nations in the world, do you think there's enough there to win a World Cup?
I don't tend to waste my time talking about looking at what the other teams have got. Concentrate on what we have. And what I say again is that the players I have, the players I work with, I think they're fantastic, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with them over the coming weeks to be ready for the start of the tournament.
Yes, Nick. Yeah.
Just to follow up, Steve, that's okay. You obviously haven't, we've talked a lot about the fact that you haven't had the time that other coaches in other nations have. They've been able to kind of layer things on, and you guys haven't. Clearly, that's always been the challenge. You've known that since day one. But you're confident by the time you get to the big games at the World Cup, you'll be able to have had, put those layers in place, especially in terms of attack, and be able to attack with the same kind of, I suppose, sophistication that some of the, the informed sides are doing that we've seen in the last sort of few years, where you haven't had that luxury, if you like.
So I've been really pleased to have the coaching team together for the last 8 weeks, and I promise you we've used every minute of the 8 weeks that we can, and as the players have entered camp, we've again gone through the fundamentals of what we need to do, and then also speak to the players about being the fastest learning team, and that's what we need to do. And so I think we've used this 8 weeks so far, and then the aspects we can take from Saturday's game, and we'll take forward to this Saturday. I'm looking forward to being back here at Twickenham on Saturday playing against Wales, and then we'll take it forward to the following week to make sure that when we get to Argentina to play against Argentina on September 9th, that we're ready.
James.
Steve, one last one from me. I know you're a big friend of Gareth Southgate. We've seen a lot of great summer of sport so far, both in cricket, in netball, the Lionesses a few minutes ago. Have you any plans to bring any of that drumbeat to the other sports into the squad before you go, just in terms of an emotional uplift or actually cross-transfer of ideas?
In terms of bringing...
in terms of the emotion and the learning from those other sports?
Well, I think that... as just discussed, we want to make sure we're learning fast. We spend an awful lot of time looking at different experiences, different rugby teams, different games that are ongoing, and also outside of just rugby, but what we can take as learning points for us to help us as a team move forward.
Any plans to bring anybody in for a few motivational stuff?
At this stage, I always have plans in place, and it's not something I'll be talking about publicly right now.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Steve Borthwick there with his assistant coaches, Kevin Sinfield, Richard Wigglesworth and Tom Harrison, speaking live and exclusively on England Rugby's social media channels, the very first time since announcing the 33-player squad. Stick with us as well, Owen Farrell and some selected players, Jack van Poortvlient, Ollie Lawrence and Ben Earl. That's going to be the second press conference for you this morning and early in the afternoon, so stick with us here on England Rugby channels. We'll look to bring you a bit more reaction from some of the players as well. Spoke to Freddie Steward and Jack Walker, which you can catch up on after this full live stream, and hoping as well to grab Jamie George in the next couple of minutes. But as I said, stick with us. Owen Farrell press conference, as well as some selected players coming up at midday. If you are just joining us, welcome to this England Rugby Live on the day where England are building up to the 2023 Rugby World Cup in France. A big day for the squad. Steve Borthwick has named the 33 players he has selected to go out to France. Lots of media activity going on here at the home of England Rugby. There's players being interviewed with rugby writers, rugby journalists, rugby broadcasters as well. Some social media filming is going on around us. And as I said, we'll be looking to bring you as much reaction as possible. Follow England Rugby social channels as well. There is a selfie, I'm reliably informed, will be going up there from Owen Farrell on the day of the photo shoot. And the, of course, official photo before they head out to France. All 33 players in that one, as well as the wider squad and management in those photos as well. If you are just joining us, let's get a look back on the 33 players who have made England's Rugby World Cup squad. Welcome back pitchside, the home of England Rugby, England's 33-man player squad. They're heading out to France, chosen by Steve Borthwick at the Rugby World Cup. Delighted to be joined by Jamie George. How are you, Jamie?
Hello, very good, thank you.
Excellent. You have been selected for a Rugby World Cup before. We've been speaking to a few players that have been selected for the first time. How does it feel going to another one and having that chat with Steve and getting on the plane?
Yeah, it's amazing. I think the fact that I've been to a couple previously doesn't take away from this selection either. Obviously, as players, and especially like aspiring international players, this is a major thing that you want to be looking towards. And really happy to be selected. It's a really exciting squad. We've been working very hard in pre-season, and for me personally, I'm just excited to get going in terms of the games coming up.
Is it still as exciting when you get to tell friends and family that you are selected as much as the first one?
Yeah, I think that's a special bit about it. I think when you're directly involved with it, people. You sort of don't think about yourself, but then actually when you see the reaction of your friends and your family, that's the special bit for us.
And in terms of the actual what's been going on in squad and the bonding and the cohesion, Steve has made a big thing about that over the past few weeks. How good a place is the squad in?
We're in a really good place, genuinely, and we've kept everything very authentic. We want people to be able to feel and act the way that they want to. Obviously, that maybe not have been the case previously, and physically, we're working really hard, but we're really focusing on that togetherness, and that's going to be important going forward. And hopefully, there's lots of experienced heads, and we'll pull on those guys. And exciting times.
Jamie, thank you very much for your time. We're going to head to the media briefing room where Ollie Lawrence, Ben Earl, and the England captain Owen Farrell are about to speak.
And to really take it forward is now clear. So we're looking forward to trying to do that to the best we can.
And not too many England fans have high prospects on your chances, and some critics as well. But what would you say to that? What can England fans expect?
What would I say to that? I think that we're working unbelievably hard here to get the most out of ourselves. The opportunity that's in front of us. We've had a Six Nations that we were probably disappointed in. Well, we were definitely disappointed in. And this is the time now where we get to spend the most time together in preparation for a tournament, and what a special tournament it is to be a part of, and to be part of this team and part of this group now with a 33 selected is as I've said, there's a big opportunity in front of us, and we're gonna work hard to make the most of it.
And in your mind, is this squad, this team, good enough to win the World Cup?
Yeah, well, we've got to focus on what's in front of us. There's no doubt about that. We've got to focus on firstly this week. Firstly, training this afternoon, and making sure that we're getting everything out of ourselves that we possibly can do. And then when we get to the World Cup, when we get to France, we'll enjoy the opportunity, like we said.
Henry Slade, probably the biggest omission in terms of experience and names in this team. Have you spoken to him? How is he?
Not spoken to him yet. I've shared a room with Henry for the past 4 weeks. Yeah, so I'll definitely be getting in touch with him. But there's a lot of good players in this squad. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of competitiveness day in, day out. So as I think we've got a great squad, and people need to be used as well over the course of this next 12 weeks. It's not going to stay the same. People need to stay ready. People need to make sure that that they're ready if anything happens. And them boys that I've just missed out have been a big part of this preparation.
Did you ever say in that decision at all?
No.
Were you surprised?
I think when it comes to any squad, as I've said, there's a lot of competition, especially in England, where there's a lot of good players. There's always going to be good players that missed out. That's always the case with squads here.
Ollie, if I'd spoken to you, or if I'd said to you after Worcester were suspended from the Premiership that you'd be sat here now, what would you have said? How are you feeling?
Yeah, no, it's pretty special. Obviously, something I've always wanted to be a part of is the squad, and especially going to a World Cup. I think that the main thing for me really is that it's been a tough old couple of months. Like, we've trained hard. Personally, for me, it's been difficult because I've been out injured. So I'm just looking forward to the next few weeks, just getting stuck back in with the squad, pushing forward over these next games. But the big focus is obviously this weekend against Wales.
Do you sense a big opportunity for you? What do you hope to bring in terms of a point of difference?
I think it's an opportunity for all of us. Personally, for me, I just want to put my best foot forward. Starts with training today, like Owen just said this afternoon. And yeah, it's an opportunity for us to do something special, and we're all in it together. So yeah, it should be good.
Hi there. If I could just put one to Ben. There was a lot of talk about the back row options available for England, and Steve's talked a lot about flexibility. Tell us about your conversation with him you had on Sunday morning.
It was early. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning, so I just got up, had a bit of a sleepless night. So yeah, I wasn't really sure. But no, yeah, the conversation I had with him was really encouraging in terms of what he wanted out of me. The thing Steve's done since he's come in is he's really encouraged us to be the player that we are, not try and fit into another mould or try and be something different. He wants to see our strengths. He wants to see how we can put our best foot forward, as Ollie's touched upon, and the training that we've been able to do over the last couple of weeks in terms of the boys coming back from the final and stuff. We've been able to do that, so it's been brilliant.
How important do you think it has been for you that you can move around that back row?
I don't think there's one player that can't in our back row. So yeah, I mean, like you say, flexibility in tournament rugby always helps. This will be one of the first tournaments I've been involved in terms of that intensity. So yeah, I mean, it must help. But like you said, I think everyone can do that. And we're all slightly different in our own way, which is I think is really nice. We've got a nice balance to that makeup, and yeah, looking forward to seeing how we grow as a unit and as a team.
And just on that sleepless night, who did you contact first when you found out?
My mum, yeah, she was buzzing, and yeah, no, she was so happy, over the moon, and I think she was straight onto whatever BA and onto the booking some flights. So yeah.
There's going to be a big Earl contingent out in France.
Yeah, I think so. Well, yeah, I hope so. I think I'll be a good England contingent by all accounts, and yeah, I'm really excited to get out there and experience, like I said, my first kind of competition rugby.
And Jack, if I just throw one to you, Steve's been very clear that it was going to be 3 scrum halves. So was there much of a surprise when you had your chat on Sunday morning?
I think you always have that doubt that he might change his mind or things might change. So yeah, to have it confirmed on Sunday was obviously a really nice feeling. But it's been brilliant working with as a 3, and we're working hard to push each other each week and add to our games and challenge each other as much as we can. So no, it's been really good. Thank you.
And just lastly from me, who did you tell first that you were in?
I FaceTimed my family. They were in the car, and yeah, so I FaceTimed my mum who wasn't driving, and yeah, they were all, mum, dad, and sister, all in the car. So no, it was very special. Mum cried a lot, which is a bit hard to deal with, but it was all right. No, it was really nice, really special.
Where were they going?
They were going back from Oxford. My sister had just moved her stuff into a new uni house, so they were driving back from Oxford Brooks, yeah.
Very nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Afternoon. Congratulations to all of you. Ollie, you're the only one who's not told us about your knock on the door story. So how did you find out? Who did you call? How did you feel?
Yeah, I had a chat with Steve on Sunday morning. Told me, that I was in the squad, kind of just explained what he wanted for me going forward. Came out there, called my missus, called my family. And yeah, that was pretty it. It was pretty surreal, special moment. But quickly kind of realised back into camp the next day, so kind of had to switch off a bit and then kind of focus on regathering for this week.
You seem to be handling it very coolly. You're heading to a World Cup with England.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is special, don't get me wrong, but I think my main focus is getting on that plane to start with, and that starts with playing well this week and building into these games and getting that form that we need to go to a World Cup with, and then I'm sure as it develops and as we go through the tournament, hopefully it'll be pretty good.
I accept you're not going to give away game plans, but give us an indication of the kind of conversation you had with Steve when he talks about what he wants from you.
The main thing for me is I think Steve just wants me to be myself. Like, he knows personally what my strengths are, and he wants me to be the best at them. Obviously, there's areas of my game that I can work on, and I'm constantly trying to work on week in, week out. But the main thing, a bit like what Ben said earlier, is he wants us to show our strengths and really set a precedent with those within the training and then within our games.
Owen, finally from me, I don't want to leave you out. I kind of assumed that you knew you were going to the World Cup, but still that sensation for you and the excitement and the hard work that's got you here. Who do you call first? What's your story?
Family, yeah, definitely. I think, and some of the all these boys, it's the first time. Like I can only sit here and tell them how special it is. Like what a tournament we're about to go and play in. What an opportunity we've got to bring the best out of ourselves and to go and enjoy taking the best of ourselves to the rest of the world. Like so, it's a fantastic tournament. One that obviously comes around every 4 years, but you don't want to waste one. And this is as good as it gets, and so we're all looking forward to it.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Owen, one for you. The last 4 years for you, you've had your ups and downs in rugby. 2019, you also skippered. What has changed within Owen Farrell 2023 version, and what sort of learnings are you going to take from your previous experiences in World Cups as skipper and as leader into this squad?
It's not just the last World Cup. There's been a few that we've been involved in before, and they've kind of been both ends of the spectrum. So there's a lot of learning. I mean, I'm not trying to be anything that I'm not. I'm trying to be like these boys saying, like Steve's trying to make sure that we do is be the best version of ourselves. And obviously there's learning. Obviously there's time. Like people mature, people change, people learn all the time. It's not a matter of sitting down and thinking, right, what went on at the last World Cup and how am I going to be? Of course there's reflection, but hopefully a lot of that reflection would have gone into the last 4 years, not just popping up now and ready to go when the next one comes around. So yeah, I want to be myself. I want to enjoy it. I want to be, as these boys are saying, I want us to be the best version of us, and I'm looking forward to giving that a good crack. Yeah.
And one for you, Ben. Did a piece with Chris Robshaw in the week, and he was talking about how squad dynamics evolve kind of naturally. The listeners, the social guys, the jokers. How's that kind of been developing across the squad, and who are the people we've got to look out for?
Good question. I think the group actually in itself has actually been together for quite a long time. I mean, the core of the group especially. I think Steve put a stat, there was a good number of boys that were involved in the 2019 final that are still in the squad now. So a lot of boys know each other very well. In terms of jokers, it varies, but I mean, there's some very competitive sportsmen around the bar games. Elliot Daly and Danny Kerr back themselves a little darts duo. They're never far from the darts board. Ollie Chesham's a good pool player. There's a couple of us that are keen to get on the golf course when time and recovery allows. So, yeah, I mean, there's loads of different lads popping up at the right moments. And like you say, it's all about dynamic. And I can honestly say it's one of the tightest environments I've been in terms of I wasn't quite sure what to expect coming into, you know, kind of like a pre-season camp where, you know, there's the elephant in the room is selection at the end of the day. But honestly, it was one of the most healthy environments I've been in. And I think that was testament to not only the coaches, but also the leadership group that Owen and Courtney and Genji have developed over the last couple of years, and it's been brilliant.
And one for you, Jack, very lastly. You know, you're going with two incredibly experienced scrum halves. I think they've got almost 200 caps between them. Just to extend my point about listeners and having those people around the squad, how useful is it for you to have DC and Benny in the side, and how much do you learn from them, pick their minds in terms of both the time you spend together, but also the on-field stuff as well?
Oh no, it's brilliant. Yeah, no, it's brilliant to have them two and Wiggy as a coach helping me out as well. Is I said it before, I couldn't really have three better people to learn off in the history of English rugby. So to pick their brains and their experiences, but also to compete with them in training and push each other on the training pitch is brilliant, and it's a really healthy sort of relationship we have between the three of us, and we're always looking to make each other better because that only helps the team and push the squad forward. So no, I'm really enjoying it, and they've been really good for me. Yeah.
Hi, one for Owen. Okay, hi. England won't be going to the World Cup as one of the favourites because of the turbulence of the last 4 years and the form that you guys have had. Are you actually going to quite enjoy that a lot of us and a lot of other people won't expect you to win it and might write you off? Is that quite a good position for an England team to be, to fly into it and try and prove people wrong?
I'm not sure. We'll use it either way. Whatever. If we was going in as favourites, we're going in and under the radar. We'd use it. We'd use it to our hopefully our advantage either way. And we are where we are at the minute. We're working hard, quietly, to be the best that we can be. And tournament rugby is a lot about pressure. I keep calling it tournament rugby. The World Cup. It's bigger than everything else you're playing. There's more eyes, there's more noise, there's more outside noise especially, and the big thing, or the nice thing maybe at times for us is that we might not have as much as that. I don't know. It might be in a different way. Who knows? But the big thing for us is to focus on what's in camp. Focus on what we can control and not let the other stuff creep in. I'll use it well, so that's what we'll be doing. We'll be making sure that we don't get in our own way because of external factors that don't really matter, if I'm honest. So we'll look forward to try and get the best out of ourselves either way. Is your answer?
Yeah. Okay. And I know particularly with Steve as a head coach, he thinks very week to week, but with you guys as the leaders and you as the captain, has there been any conversation about winning the World Cup and the potential of doing that? Have you even thought about that or discussed it?
Well, the whole thing for the team has been to get the most out of ourselves now. We obviously know what a big tournament's coming up, and we're looking forward to it. And as I said, the opportunity is brilliant for us. But all our focus is on making sure we're becoming a better rugby team now, and we've been doing that over the past few weeks, and now that the squad's selected, we can really rip into that even more now.
Ben, we spoke to you a few times in the sort of, you know, across the playoffs with Saris and things like that, and I remember we spoke to you at one point when you'd had a recent visit from Steve and he was saying about what he wanted from players, and that was quite a long way out, wasn't it? I remember you saying it's kind of hard at that point to think beyond what you've got to do that weekend and things, but obviously there's a bit of nerves that come with it. Now you're on the other side of that selection coin. You feel like how pleasing is it that given all the work you did put in and a lot of it in your spare time that you're here and you've made the squad?
Yeah, I'm over the moon, as we all were, I think. This morning, especially coming into that change room, seeing all the boys, we're all bouncing. In terms of individually, yeah, the back row was so competitive. I mean, the boys that missed out what great players and what great blokes. So you do have to pinch yourself and say you're going to a World Cup. It did seem at times over the last 18 months it's been a long way off. So over the moon. But as Ollie touched upon there, like Steve now challenged us all to push for a starting place, push to be involved in that first game against Argentina. And the only way we do that is train and play well over the next 2-3 weeks. So pinch yourself, but looking forward to kind of getting stuck in with a bit more of a freedom of mind that you're going to have the opportunities in training and matches to try and be involved in that first game.
The selection can give everyone a lift, can't it? Because Steve has been clear about selecting players to do what they do and be themselves. If it stands to reason, if you are then selected, that's extra vindication.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why the environment's been so good, is because everyone has just been able to be themselves. No one's looking over their shoulder being, should I do X, should I do Y, even if that's not in their strengths or something they don't feel that comfortable doing. So that's what I think why the environment's been so good, is because everyone's just playing to who they are, and everyone's finding out combinations that complement each other, and that's what I've found most enjoyable over the last couple of weeks especially.
And Owen, you've been involved in all sorts of different teams across your career for England and Saracens and the Lions as well, I suppose. So you've been used to sides that have built game plans and styles of play over numbers of years, and also had to bring them together quite quickly. If you got the time to bring everything together to the level you'd want to be at for this World Cup, it's obviously Steve would have loved to have had a 4-year build-up. We know he hasn't had the luxury, and with a new coaching team in place, have you got the time to bring everything together in time?
Well, this is the most amount of time we ever spend together. We normally get a week prep before we kick off into a Six Nations, or a week's prep before we kick off into an autumn series. Similar with going on a summer tour. It's normally pretty broken. This is not the case. So this is where we get most of our work done. And obviously, people. I'm not just on about the last however many years, but even just in World Cups, in sport in general, like we go to World Cups and everyone thinks there's a brilliant build-up, and then the best team, the favourites, and then like that's and it's theirs to go and win. And look, it doesn't work like that. You only have to look at the Football World Cup with Argentina. Who did they lose to? Argentina, Saudi Arabia at the start of the tournament. Yeah, you look at past Rugby World Cups, like where New Zealand have been so dominant, and South Africa won in 2007. That's not sport. That's not sport, and it's about dealing with what we have now, and that's what we're looking to do.
Just one for Ben. Ben, when you went out of the squad in the Six Nations, what did you learn from that, and what did you want to sort of work on?
What I learnt was obviously gutted not to be playing, but there was still a real good opportunity to impress and help the team, and that was probably something that maybe Earl 4 years ago wouldn't have had that perspective. I was with the team the whole of the campaign, coming in on Thursdays to train with the team, 2 days before a test match, and actually learnt quite a lot about myself, learnt a lot about what a good teammate looks like, and what I wanted to be, because I think everyone can be on top form, be a great teammate when they're playing in the 23. It's actually sometimes when you're not playing, that's a real testament, and I think that's where this squad will be brilliant, is that you've got a lot of characters that are like that. The team's most important thing, and obviously everyone wants to play, but yeah, that's something I learnt, and just because you're not playing doesn't mean that you're not necessarily a good player. Maybe you the kind of player you are doesn't fit that weekend, and I think that's definitely something that Steve's a big thinker about the game, big thinker about combinations and the setup of a team, and something that I've learnt doesn't necessarily mean because you're not playing doesn't mean you're not in the top 4 players. In my position, that would be top 4 or 5 players. Maybe the kind of player you are doesn't fit that week. So and the plan. So yeah, that's something I learnt, and hopefully I'll use to a certain extent over the coming months.
And when you turned up for the first training camp this time, what was it that you really wanted to prove? Was it, along with being a good teammate, what did you want to show the coaches?
Myself. I think over the last probably 2 years, I had a bit of an up and down journey with England in terms of being in and out of squads and whatever. And then obviously having some highs with the club and having some lows with the club over the last 2 years as well. So probably a bit more of a mature, a bit more of a rounded individual as much as a player. So showing both aspects on and off the pitch, I think, is as important.
And just finally, one for Ollie. You talked about that spell of injury rehab. How much pressure did that sort of add to the situation for you in terms of wanting to make the cut for the squad?
Yeah, probably initially, like I think it probably runs through your head. You think, oh, this could be the end. But like within a brief few moments, and then probably the next day, as soon as you kind of realise what you're facing, you just got to deal with it. Yeah, it happened. I got injured. I just had to work as hard as I could off the field to try and get close to where these boys were on the field, and try and make sure that when I came back, the gap wasn't too far away. And yeah, an element of it is just doing your best, and like I said, whatever happens. Whatever call Steve wanted to make was going to be his decision, and all I could do was put myself in the best position to be back out on the field.
I have one for Jack. Obviously, you're one of the younger players in the squad. Done incredible to get in that position. There can be a lot of young players looking up to you. Now, you've obviously taken on advice, etc., from like Danny Kerr, Ben Youngs. What advice would you give to the young people that are coming through and want to be in your position in 5, 10, 15 years' time?
I think, for me, sort of learning coming through sort of academy systems, and the same for the others here, what I'd say to a young person coming through is be patient in a lot of ways, but almost not too patient with push as hard as you can, but understand that it will come. I think if anyone was in my shoes, they'd be really small until 16, 17, and suddenly you grow a bit, and it sort of grow into yourself, and then it all comes quite quickly. So just work as hard as you can on those core parts of your game, your fundamentals, and push as much as you can, but understand you're going to have to be patient at times, and trust sort of the process and how it all works. But keep working as hard as you can on those core skills.
Thank you. And Ollie, you obviously made your move from Worcester to Bath, and as soon as you started playing for Bath, you started performing incredibly well, and you of course got the Premiership Player of the Month. What was the motivation, which has obviously now led you to being back in the England squad? What really motivated you to sort of push forward?
Probably the realisation that kind of rugby can be taken away from you at any point, whether that be injury or any factor. I think the fact that I was at a place for so long and grew up playing at, and then had to completely move to a different team and with a load of different players who'd been together for a long time was a real challenge. And my real motivation, I think, really was the fact that I was fortunate enough to pick up a gig pretty sharpish, and I wanted to bring the best out of myself and just get going again. It was difficult, but like I said, we all go through ups and downs in life, and like I said, my job is to play rugby and to do it to the best of my ability, and hopefully I did that for Bath this season. And like I said, moving forward now with England over these next few weeks, hopefully I can do the same.
Brilliant, thank you very much.
Owen, hi, NHK Japan. Hi.
Couldn't see you then, sorry.
You played many times with Japan team in the past, and you're going to be playing on the 17th of September against Japan. And what are you looking forward to playing? And how do you think Japan has evolved since last 4 years?
I guess it evolved like every team. We've played them a couple of years ago now in the autumn, and we know what a threat they are. We know how much they can move the ball. We know how much they come up with good different plans to surprise you at times. So they've been obviously the buzz around the World Cup and the feeling around the World Cup grew massively in Japan, and everyone thought it was a fantastic tournament. And I'm sure, I don't know this, but I'm sure rugby in Japan was booming since then. And you know, to play against a great nation again and to be in our pool group will be brilliant. Yeah.
Any key players that you're going to be watching out for?
We'll be watching all of them. I wouldn't like to pick too many out, but we're kind of focused on what's in front of us at the minute. So we'll look at Wales. We'll look at Wales first, and obviously when it comes to Japan, we'll really focus in on them.
Ollie, hi, over here, sorry. Just an admin one. Are you 100% fit?
Yeah, I'm training with the squad now and I'm back up for selection as far as I'm aware, so yeah, I'm all good.
Okay, so you could play on Saturday if selected?
Yeah, I guess we'll wait and see what the team sheet says.
Cool. All right, thank you.
Hi, it's a question for Owen. This is your third time being selected to play for the World Cup. But what does playing for England means to you?
Well, for us, it's the highest level of rugby we can play. But to play for our nation, that I'm very proud of being English, and to get to represent England's a massive honour. I think, especially around the World Cup, I think if I've thought about the last two that we've been involved in, and as a fan or as a sports fan in general, the atmosphere around England and the atmosphere around the support for the country in big tournaments is phenomenal, and for us to get the chance and the opportunity to be at the forefront of that is brilliant. And as I said, I'm a proud Englishman, and we want to represent them fans that we're talking about to the best we can.
Owen, hi. You've won in your career Premiership titles, European Cups, winning Lions tours. Can you describe how desperate you are to add a World Cup to that? And can you reassure England supporters that that is the only goal you've got in mind going to this tournament?
Reassure them that's the only goal. That's the only
winning it.
Yeah. Well, obviously our focus is purely on what's going on now, and that's to prepare for a World Cup. So we're doing that as best we can, and obviously the dream is always to be in the big game at the end, and to obviously go as far as you can. So all our focus is obviously on that. Yeah, I don't really know how to answer that any other way.
Perfect. Good place to end it. Thanks very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
England captain Owen Farrell there, our second live press conference here from Twickenham. That was in the media briefing room. We're here pitchside, and that is just about it for us today. Steve Borthwick and his assistant coaches. The first live press conference, and then some of the players speaking as well here on this England Rugby Live on the day that Steve Borthwick has named his 33-player squad to head out to France for the 2023 Rugby World Cup. And you could be here as well, watching their final preparations. Wales here this weekend and Fiji in a couple of weeks. You can come and watch the final preparations. Tickets still available for both games, englandrugby.com/tickets. But that is just about it, as I said, for us here. Make sure you're following all of England Rugby's social channels this week during the World Cup. All the best behind the scenes build up with you on England Rugby's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Wherever you follow England Rugby, we'll have some of the best coverage for you. That's it from pitchside here at Twickenham. Thank you very much for joining us on this England Rugby Live. But for now, it is goodbye.